All right, responding to Catholic memes, let's check one out. Here we go. All right, so this is supposed to be some kind of succinct, spooky warning about how bad and how lost Protestants are. And the ideas shared here are that saints are dead and can't hear your prayers, and demons are alive and, in at least some cases, can hear your prayers. The simple response to that is, yep, that's about right. But the claims made aren't spooky or bad. They're just biblically true. And that's the one critique I'd make on this, is that it's not that Protestantism is a religion where those things are true. It's that Christianity is a religion, as revealed by Christ, where those things are true. But as always, let's try to go point by point and debunk the ridiculousness of the claims, or rather the claim that these ideas are ridiculous. First of all, let's deal with the devil and demons. The idea that humans can, at least in some cases, interact with the powers and spirits of darkness. Here are some citations from the Bible on screen that make it very clear that that is absolutely 100% true. So yes, the devil and his demons are very much alive, and they can be communicated with by physically living humans on earth, including Christians. A final point on this topic would be that the devil and his demons, biblically, are spiritual beings that are extremely old, and they have spiritual bodies. They are alive in a spiritual sense, but they also can take on or inhabit physical bodies. We don't exactly know what the rules and limitations are because we're not given them biblically, but at least that much is true, that they are alive even when they're not in physical form, and sometimes they can take or inhabit physical form. Okay, how about saints? So the saints who have died, that being Christians, or as the Catholic Church would deem it, only Christians who the magisterium has declared were good enough that they are absolutely without doubt in heaven and not in hell or purgatory right now, those saints cannot hear your prayers. Out of over 600 biblical references for prayer, over 20 of which come from Jesus, we don't have a single instance of anyone praying to the dead or of the dead in a holy sense receiving, being influenced by, or acting on the prayers of the physically living. This type of inaction is never once prescribed or exemplified by or for a follower of God. As a matter of fact, the only examples we have of someone praying to the dead are negative and are condemned, examples of things like necromancy and sorcery. And Isaiah goes as far as to say, "Why would you pray to the dead on behalf of the living? Should you not inquire of your God?" This is such a clear teaching against Catholicism. There is no point to praying for the physically dead. Why not just pray to God? The physically dead have no part in interceding for the living. You see, there's a difference between being both physically alive and spiritually alive, which can occur for a Christian on earth, and being only spiritually alive, which occurs for a Christian when the body has died and they go to be with the Lord until the resurrection of the body at the end times. There are things we can do, like praying for other people and even listening to other people's prayers while we are both physically and spiritually alive as part of the body of Christ here on earth, that there is no reason to believe we can do once we are physically dead, but spiritually alive in the presence of the Lord in heaven. Every single example of prayer we have shows us that listening to, acting on, and answering prayers is God's prerogative. It is a place for the triune God and God alone, not for anyone, saints or otherwise. On top of that, the idea of praying to saints and Mary who have physically died didn't emerge for generations and hundreds of years after Christ. To summarize then, prayer to the physically deceased is never once endorsed in the Bible at the hands of Jesus by a Spirit-inspired author or by one of his followers, neither in the New or Old Testament. Every time someone does pray to the deceased in the Bible, it is condemned as an evil act. The alleged holy act of praying to deceased saints is not recorded anywhere in history until generations and hundreds of years after Jesus. This is okay. This shouldn't dishearten you. Spirits, even unclean spirits, are ancient spiritual beings who sometimes can influence and interact with the physical world. Humans are humans. We are in a different category, a different created order. That's all right. God is in control of both. And that's the big focal point here that Catholics miss. God is in control. God does not need dead saints to help him in answering, hearing, or acting on prayers. He doesn't need dead saints to give you their specialty or intercede for you or give you their surplus good works through the treasury of merit or anything else. He doesn't need their holiness. You don't need their holiness. You need the holiness of being covered in the blood of Christ and indwelled with the Spirit of God, so that when you're before the Father's throne, that is what will matter and that is what he will judge. That's all for today, guys. Have a good one.